amidst the laughter and chatter of a lively soirée. The ambience was one of celebration and camaraderie. Guests mingled, glasses clinking in toasts, while savory aromas wafted from tables adorned with delectable delights. The evening air hummed with the strains of music, a backdrop to the jovial atmosphere. Yet, in an instant, the festive mood shattered into shards of disbelief and horror. A scene unfolded that defied comprehension, a scene of unimaginable violence playing out before the startled eyes of the assembled crowd. As if frozen in time, the revelers stood in stunned silence, their laughter extinguished by the chilling reality before them. Glasses fell from trembling hands, their contents spilling onto the ground in a silent cascade. The savory scents of the feast now mingled with the metallic tang of fear, suffusing the air with an oppressive tension. In the midst of the chaos, a figure emerged, a figure consumed by a madness that knew no bounds. With each frenzied motion, the specter of death loomed ever closer, casting a pall over the once joyous gathering. What would you do in such a moment of terror? How would you react when faced with the unthinkable? As the world around you descends into chaos, one question lingers. Will anyone dare to intervene, or will they remain paralyzed by fear and disbelief, mere witnesses to the unfolding tragedy? Welcome to Crime Scene Archives. In today's video, we'll be delving into the tragic case of Zahra Abrahimzadeh, a story that unfolds amidst a seemingly ordinary soirée turned into a scene of unspeakable horror. Before we proceed, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Crime Scene Archives for more gripping tales of true crime. Now, let's dive into the unsettling case of Zahra Abrahimzadeh. Warning: this video contains graphic content related to crime scenes. It is intended for educational purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. Zahra Abrahimzadeh's life was brutally taken in front of hundreds, a chilling act carried out by the very man she once loved, her husband, Zia. For Armand Abrahimzadeh, this tragic event marked the culmination of years of fear and anguish within his family. Their journey began with hope and love, as Zia and Zahra forged a bond in their homeland of Iran. Their decision to start a new life in Australia seemed promising, driven by dreams of a better future for their children. But as they settled into their new home, cracks began to form in their once happy facade. For Armand, the transition to a new country was anything but smooth. Struggling to adapt to a foreign culture and language, he felt like an outsider in his own life. The warmth and familiarity of Iran felt like a distant memory as he grappled with isolation and despair. As time passed, the harmony of their family life disintegrated, replaced by a climate of fear and violence. Behind closed doors, Zia's temper simmered, erupting into fits of rage that left scars both physical and emotional. Armand and his siblings lived in constant dread, never knowing when their father's anger would turn towards them. Yet amidst the darkness, Armand found flickers of light. Through the support of friends and the solace of community, he began to glimpse a path forward. It was in the homes of his peers that he saw glimpses of a different reality, where fathers treated their wives with respect and kindness. But for Zahra, escape seemed impossible. Trapped in a cycle of abuse, she bore the brunt of Zia's fury until it culminated in her untimely demise. Inside their home, darkness reigned, casting shadows over what should have been a sanctuary of love and warmth. For Armand Abrahimzadeh, the absence of affection from his father was a stark reality that colored his childhood with a profound sense of emptiness. To the world beyond their walls, Zia was a figure of respect, a beacon of religious authority and community leadership. With his sharp intellect and legal expertise, he commanded admiration and adoration from those around him, particularly in his work with migrants through charitable endeavors. But behind closed doors, a different truth unfolded. Armand's memories from a chilling mosaic of his upbringing, each recollection a testament to the terror that lurked within their home. Violence became a constant companion, its presence so pervasive that it seeped into the very fabric of their existence. In the face of such brutality, Zahra and her children developed a grim resilience, learning to normalize the chaos that engulfed their lives. They became adept at masking their pain, shielding the truth from prying eyes beyond their doorstep. Yet amidst the darkness, a flicker of light remained. Zahra, with her gentle spirit and unwavering love for her children, became their beacon of hope. Despite the danger that lurked in every corner, her greatest fear was not for herself, but for the safety of her beloved family. In the silent agony of their shared suffering, they found solace in each other's presence, clinging to the fragile threads of normalcy that bound them together. But as the violence escalated, so too did their resolve to break free from its suffocating grip. Zia's presence loomed large, despite his lack of physical stature, his manipulation and psychological games casting a suffocating shadow over his family. With calculated cruelty, he systematically eroded their confidence, leaving them hollow shells of their former selves. But it was the physical violence that left the deepest scars, etching memories of terror and agony into Armand's mind. Each instance is seared into his memory, a gruesome tally of brutality inflicted upon those he loved most. From witnessing his mother's savage beatings to enduring his own, the home became a battleground stained with blood and fear. The air crackled with tension, thick with the acrid taste of dread that clung to their very breath. Joy became a distant memory, overshadowed by the pervasive negativity that suffused their once happy home. Yet amidst the chaos, a moment of reckoning arrived, a stark realization that they could no longer endure the horrors inflicted by Zia. As he brandished a knife in a fit of rage, the threat of imminent death hung heavy in the air, a chilling reminder of the danger that lurked within their midst. In a desperate bid for survival, Armand and his siblings confronted the beast that was their father, grappling with him in a frantic struggle to prevent further bloodshed. But when reason failed to quell his fury, they knew that their only hope lay in escape. With hearts pounding and fear gripping their every step, they fled from the hell that had become their home, leaving behind the nightmare of their past in search of a future free from the specter of violence. In that pivotal moment, they made a choice to reclaim their lives, to defy the darkness that threatened to consume them. And as they fled into the unknown, they carried with them a glimmer of hope, a belief that they could forge a new path untainted by the horrors of their past. The morning after the harrowing confrontation, as dawn broke and Zia departed for work, Zahra made a courageous decision that would change the course of their lives. With a sense of resolve born from years of suffering, she knew they could no longer endure the horrors within their own home. "We had to go," Armand recounts, his face tinged with the weight of their shared ordeal. "Deep down, we all knew it was the only option. Despite the uncertainty that lay ahead, leaving was the right thing to do. Inside those walls, we were prisoners, more isolated than we could ever be outside." In a whirlwind of frantic packing, they gathered only the essentials, leaving behind the trappings of their former life. Material possessions paled in comparisons to the urgency of their escape, their primary concern fixated on one thing alone: safety. "We literally ran out for our lives," Armand reflects, the memory still raw with emotions. "We had no destination in mind, no plan beyond survival. Interstate travel was out of the question, the specter of custody battles looming over us like a dark cloud. South Australia became our refuge, our sanctuary in a world turned upside down." With little faith in the protection offered by restraining order, Zahra took a decisive action, seeking assistance from the authorities. The police, recognizing the urgency of their situation, swiftly arranged emergency accommodation through the Central Domestic Violence Service. For 3 long months, they found refuge in the shelter's walls, a temporary haven from the storm that raged outside. Yet even in the relative safety of their new surroundings, fear remained a constant companion, a shadow that dogged their every step. Despite the semblance of security, they knew that danger still lurked, a sobering reminder of the trauma they had endured. The memories linger like an open wound, still raw with the agony of loss. "I can still see Mom lying there, surrounded by a pool of her own blood." Armand's voice trembles with the weight of his recollection, the image haunting him like a specter that refuses to fade. Those days of uncertainty and fear are etched into his soul, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable unimaginable adversity, homelessness, poverty, isolation, he recounts, each word with the heavy burden of their shared struggle. Every task felt insurmountable when we were alone, but somehow we found the strength to press on. In their year-long flight from danger, they lived in constant vigilance, careful to avoid drawing attention to themselves. We had to remain invisible, Armand reflects, the memory of their clandestine existence still vivid in his mind. Yet even in their vigilance, they could not escape the relentless pursuit of their tormentor. Zia's obsession knew no bounds, his determination to exact revenge driving him to relentless pursuit. Through threats relayed by their youngest sister Anita, he made his intentions clear. Zahra would pay for daring to defy him. Mom was brave, determined to shield us from harm. Armand's voice falters with emotion, but tragically, her bravery could not protect her from vengeful fury of her ex-husband. Consumed by rage and humiliation, Zia meticulously plotted his revenge, his obsession with reclaiming control culminating in a horrifying act of violence. In the heart of celebration, amidst the joy of Persian New Year's Eve, tragedy struck with chilling swiftness. Exploiting a legal loophole, Zia brazenly entered the Adelaide Convention Center, a knife concealed within his grasp. In a moment of unspeakable horror, he unleashed his fury upon Zahra, plunging the blade into her with merciless intent, heedless of the horrified onlookers who bore witness to the brutality of his actions. In the blink of an eye, a life of love and sacrifice was extinguished, leaving behind only a shattered family and a community reeling in disbelief. And in the aftermath of the senseless violence, Zahra Abrahimzadeh was left to grapple with the devastating consequences of his father's unforgivable act. The frenzied onslaught unleashed by Zia reverberated through the venue with chilling speed, his rage matched only by the ruthless efficiency with which he carried out his heinous act. It was a scene of unimaginable horror, a cacophony of screams and sobbing, mingling with the sickening sound of violence, halted only by the intervention of courageous guests. For Armand, the news of his mother's attack propelled him into a desperate race against time. Ignoring the chaos engulfing the scene, he fought his way through the panicked crowd, driven by a singular purpose: to reach his mother's side. But the sight that awaited him was a nightmare incarnate, searing itself into his consciousness with a cruelty that knows no bounds. "I saw Mom lying there," he recalls, the memory etched into his mind like a scar that refuses to fade. The pool of blood surrounding her, the sheer brutality of it all. It's a sight that still haunts me to this day. In the sterile confines of the hospital, Armand confronted the devastating reality of his mother's death. Zahra's untimely death on what should have been a day of celebration served as a stark reminder of the senselessness of her murder. At Zia's trial, Justice John Sulan condemned the abuser's actions with scathing rebuke, acknowledging the courage of Zahra's children in testifying against their father. But for Armand, the courtroom proceedings offered little solace in the face of overwhelming grief. In a powerful statement outside the court, he denounced the system's failure to protect his family, laying bare the pain and anguish that would forever haunt them. In the wake of tragedy, Armand's voice rose as a defiant cry for justice, a testament to the enduring strength of a son determined to honor his mother's memory and ensure that her death was not in vain. Armand's words were heavy with the weight of unspoken grief, his voice a poignant echo of the pain that refuses to be silenced. Despite their efforts to seek refuge in hiding, the family's cries for help fell on deaf ears, their pleas for protection ignored by the very system meant to safeguard them. Even with a restraining order in place, my father flagged in the system. The authorities failed to take action. Armand laments, frustration evident in his voice. He was never questioned about the threats he made, leaving us vulnerable to his relentless pursuit. Sentenced to 26 years behind bars, Zia's attempt at reconciliation only served to further highlight the depth of his delusion. In a 10-page letter rife with self-pity, he cast himself as the victim of circumstances, his words a grotesque distortion of reality. Armand, bearing the weight of grief with a wisdom far beyond his years, has forged a path forward, despite the darkness that surrounds him. Forced to abandon his dreams of pursuing a master's degree in architecture, he has found solace in using his pain to fuel his passion for advocacy. In the face of unimaginable tragedy, Armand and his sisters have learned to normalize their grief, a coping mechanism born of necessity. Yet beneath the facade of resilience lies a deep well of sorrow, a testament to the enduring bond they share with their another beloved mother, gone but never forgotten. Armand's resolve remains unyielding, his disdain for his father casting a dark shadow over any semblance of forgiveness. "My opinion of him hasn't changed," he declares, his voice tinged with bitterness. "I have no desire to grant him the satisfaction of a visit. I harbor no sympathy for him whatsoever. Visiting him would only serve to lower myself to his level, and I refuse to stoop to that." The prospect of parole for Zia holds no sway over Armand's emotions. Whether he spends the rest of his days behind bars or is eventually released, it matters little to me, he admits with a cold detachment. His punishment pales in comparison to the irreversible loss he inflicted upon our family. "Nothing can bring my mother back." For Armand, closure cannot be found in the confines of a prison cell. His focus lies not on seeking retribution, but on honoring his mother's memory and finding solace in the knowledge that justice in its own way has been served. The coronial inquiry conducted in 2013 delved into the police response regarding assault allegations raised by Zahra and her children, as well as the breaches of the interim domestic violence restraining order against Zia. For Armand, the revelations unearthed during this inquiry underscored the urgent need for systemic change. While Armand has since found professional success managing the design and drafting department of an Adelaide building company, the issue of domestic violence remains a central focus in his life. Drawing strength from his mother's tragic death, he unabashedly channels his grief into advocacy, striving to enact positive change wherever possible. Armand's tireless efforts were recognized when he was named Young South Australian of the Year, an accolade he accepts with humility, yet tinged with a bitter reminder of what was lost. "It's an honor I'm deeply grateful for," he reflects, his voice heavy with emotion, "but I would give it all up to have my mom by my side, to share in this moment of recognition with her." Armand's advocacy work has not been in vain. His relentless pursuit of justice spurred an internal investigation by the South Australia Police, resulting in significant reforms to how domestic violence cases are handled. 40 changes were implemented, addressing systemic flaws highlighted in the coroner's report on his mother's murder. Though the road to progress is long and arduous, Armand remains steadfast in his commitment to honor his mother's memory and ensure that her death was not in vain. In the face of tragedy, he has emerged as a beacon of hope, a voice for the voiceless, and a force for change in the fight against domestic violence. In our previous video, we delved into the tragic story of Celeste Mano, a young woman whose life was cut short by an obsessed stalker. If you haven't already, make sure to check out that episode for more gripping true crime content. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Crime Scene Archives for future updates and more chilling tales of real-life mysteries. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay vigilant.